Hi, welcome to Elephant in the Room. These are short adventures in geography designed to make you think. When I was at school, I was labelling a diagram, but I misspelled brain and wrote Brian instead. The teacher put a red circle around it and wrote who in big, smug letters. Finally, many years later, it's time for my revenge. So this time, it's Brian. So our Brian is basically curious. He collects information, knowledge and ideas like a magpie and keeps all this stuff in his head. It all connects up to form a sort of web which represents Brian's version of the truth, and he uses it to filter and make sense of his experience. So when someone mentions sausages, he pulls on the sausage thread and as if by magic, out pop all his interesting sausage-related factoids and opinions, all connected up and ready to go. A lot of this is completely unconscious. When he talks, for example, he has very little idea how he does it, or what he's going to say next, or even where it's going. And yet it mostly seems to come out making sense. Brian comes across as a complicated, normal person, sometimes even an expert. Sometimes he finds the things he says surprising and clever and funny. The bright little beam of conscious Brian, like a little torch flashing about in the dark, may or may not be paying attention, but all the machinery in his head is somehow busy anyway. Brian's web of stuff is continually changing as new stuff piles in. Sometimes it reinforces his view of things. Sometimes it blows holes in his understanding. But quite often, new stuff is just rejected as pointless, unconnectable to the stuff that's already there, irrelevant. Bits of his web are like a work in progress. Other bits are like articles of faith, nailed down bits which stop everything else moving around too much. And other bits are just blank, empty spaces, islands of inactivity. Much of the stuff in there is shared stuff, stuff that everyone else has in their brains too, like celebrities and how people are supposed to behave. That way, people have stuff to share with each other and ways to do it. Many of the connections are shared as well, so up to a point, Brian's experience of things is similar to everyone else's. But not all. Occasionally, Brian bumps into something that niggles away and makes him wonder, like, do slugs hear tiny violins when they get all romantic? To many people, this is exactly the sort of useless junk that gets instantly rejected. But for Brian, it's a profound question. If slugs get all poetic about each other, then our experience is really not that different to theirs. So what's all this got to do with geography? Well, perhaps our wobbly versions of the truth are a type of geography, like a sort of landscape we explore and develop whenever we think. So, what's going on in your head? What niggles away at you? Where does all your attention keep going? See if you can put your finger on a few of your major mental landmarks. Maybe make a little mind map, but of your mind. It's surprisingly hard to do, even though it's probably the place we think we know best of all. Maybe because our bright little beams really are that little. Or maybe because much of the stuff going on in there, like what sausages taste like, just disappears when we switch the light on. But perhaps, if you look hard enough, you'll find something that will be helpful in understanding yourself and what you're interested in and how you learn. Thanks for listening. See you next time.